What's going on, everyone? Nick from Comic Culture here. Time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. Let's get into the books I read this week. Before we jump into those books, though, go down below in the description and vote in this year's 2023 Comic Book Community Awards. The link will be down below for the voting ballot. Make sure you're voting for your favorite YouTube creators down there. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into this week's books. We're going to start over with DC. We have The Vigil, issue number 6, last issue of this volume of The Vigil, from Ram V. Really cool issue here. Very interesting team. The dynamics of how they were created, who actually created them, who put them together, and the different power sets and how they're combined, and the mysteries behind the team in general. Very, very intriguing stuff from Ram V. Amazing artwork throughout as well. Each character got its own little spotlight here and there throughout the entire series, which was really awesome to see. And the ending had a few twists and turns that I didn't see coming, and it was pretty satisfying. And I'm so excited that The Vigil will be back, presumably, based on the information at the end of this issue. And I want to see how they fit into the broader DC universe. So I'm really excited to see where The Vigil goes from there. If you like Ram V, if you like Doom Patrol kind of teams, you're going to love The Vigil, so make sure to check it out. The next DC book I read this week was Superman Lost, issue number 8. So this one's from Christopher Priest. An amazing Superman run, I think, handling some pretty cool topics. Again, the basic premise here is Superman gets into a time dilation scenario while trying to rescue Earth with the Justice League. In the early issues of this run, he has this entire other life, this entire other experience with all these different planets and civilizations and all these promises he made to protect and save these other planets. He has not been able to fulfill that promise. And now that he's back home, he has all this, I don't know, survivor's guilt or just guilt in general that he wasn't able to do more for these different worlds that he met on his journey. So that has been kind of a cool story to unpack there. The other thing on top of that is Lex Luthor is doing some unspeakable stuff to Lois, not in like a weird way, but in a weird way kind of. And the implication of that is pretty staggering. So I'm excited to see what Superman does as like a rebuttal to that, to Lex, because it seems like Lex is on a path to kill himself essentially. And so I'm going to be really interested to see how that plays out. We only got 2 issues left. There's a lot to reconcile still, but I've been loving the series so far. Great artwork, a lot of like existential threats, really. So it's pretty inward facing, I would say. There's a lot of cool outward threats that we deal with as well, but it's a really cool view at Superman, I think, some of the strengths and weaknesses that he has as a character and the different roles people in his life play as well. So Superman Lost, really cool book. Issue number 8's out. Check it out. Next, we have Detective Comics 1077, Ram V and Dan Waters on this one, sharing kind of a 2 different stories in this one issue, like the previous issues that we've seen. And we're in a very, very interesting place here. So if you haven't been caught up really, Gotham has been taken over by this really ancient family, and so now they're kind of spreading their toxin a little bit through Gotham right now, destroying it from below and from above as well. They know who Batman is. They have infiltrated his mind. They have him prisoner, and they have him set up for a public execution in front of Gotham that has been tainted by this toxin they've been spreading around. And so it is up to the other members across the Gotham universe to team up and take on this threat, save the Batman so we can save Gotham essentially. So we got a really cool team led by Selina. We have Jim Gordon in here. We have a very interesting other person that we're introduced to in this book. Dan Waters and Wingard on the art in here on those sections is absolutely beautiful. It's everything that you would come to expect from that team. Really, really cool things are happening in there. And we also get the story from a lot of different perspectives too. We got a lot of people that don't really get to see the spotlight in DC books get the spotlight in here, and I'm all for it. It's some pretty cool stuff. I love the mashup of the different perspectives in this book. It's a cool threat that Batman has to deal with, and he has all of his friends kind of coming to his aid. Really, really cool book. Can't wait to see more of it. Check it out. All right, let's hop over to Marvel real quick. We have Peach Momoko Star Wars Vision, issue number 1. I don't know if this is going to be an ongoing kind of a thing or not, but we have a little taste of Peach Momoko doing a full Star Wars book in here. There's no dialogue. It is all just these crazy pages, presumably having to do with some kind of a ritual of this one cult, how it maybe infiltrates their mind or takes over their essence, or maybe this person absorbs everyone's power from the crowd. There's some kind of a rebellion in there, and they fight back against this threat. I don't know what the hell is going on inside this book, to be honest with you. All I know is I was turning it from page to page. I'm like, oh, cool, a lightsaber finally. You know, like, I don't know what's happening. I don't have the context needed, the background needed, or anything to infer what is happening inside of the story, really. I'm not a fan of just the artwork alone. I need some dialogue. I need some hand holding. I need to be spoon fed what is going on inside the story. Were the pages beautiful? Sure, they're great. But did I know what is happening in the story based on just the artwork alone? Absolutely not. No idea what happened. No idea where we are. Don't know who these people are. I'm looking forward to the other Visions book that is coming out very soon, and I can't wait for that one. But this one, big dud for me. Please go in the comments and let me know what the heck happened. Blade issue number 5. I've been loving the series so far, and this issue is no exception. Man, we had a really cool moment where Blade had to do this like heist thing with his friends to get the blade or the sword of Lucifer. That blade has a way of corrupting you, and Doctor Strange actually put Blade in front of our foe at the end of last issue. Now we get to see the repercussions kind of that, more of a we were told what happened versus showed what happened. And he's kind of pissed off at the outcome of that battle, asking Doctor Strange to put him right back in front of her yet again to take out his revenge on this person because he has messed with one of his friends and he wants to get that revenge out on them. But in a very similar way from the first time that they met, he was pretty much dispatched pretty easily, and now Blade has kind of gotten a little bit, has been shown humility, honestly. And so now he's having to get the resources from somebody else that's very powerful in his circles to kind of up his game, to give him the strength, give him the powers, give him the abilities to take on this threat because he does not currently have that. So Blade issue number 5, another really cool book, really great issue. I love the run so far, so jump right in, man. We're only 5 issues in. You'll get caught up quick, and I think you're going to love it. Check it out. All right, next we have G.I. Joe 301 from Larry Hama, and I was born in the mid-'80s. I feel like I grew up in a time where G.I. Joe was starting to scale down a little bit. I had a lot of hand-me-down toys. I watched a lot of the cartoons and stuff, but like nothing really stuck after, like the mid-'90s for me personally, but it's definitely a franchise that I appreciate. I'm glad it's over on Image now with a new number 1 or 301. Larry's been writing this thing forever, so I love that continuation that he has there. We got a cool Kubert cover right there, black and white. The other editions of this have the color cover, and it has more of like a newspaper print, but for some reason this one didn't have that, which is a little bit disappointing to me. But if you're like me and you don't have a lot of experience with G.I. Joe in general, you just kind of know the basics, it does a good job in the beginning of setting up who the characters are, giving you a little rundown of who they are, what their power sets are, and in the back we get like this whole thing as well, diagramming everybody and, all the different details about them. I will say this first issue is action-packed. There's not a lot of one-on-one battling going on. We have one of our villains essentially setting off this big mutant bomb that's going to turn everybody into like mindless mutants. And the objective there is to like maintain their awareness, but gain all the physical attributes of those mutants. And of course we have our G.I. Joe team trying to infiltrate and evacuate this area once they know what the plan is. There's so many cool little things happening in here. Great artwork. It does lack that one-on-one like battle, ground level battle kinds of things. Everyone's just kind of like running away from each other while this bomb goes off. So it's almost like we started in the middle of a story, which fair enough, it's a 301, so 300 is probably where they went over this stuff. Totally get that. But as somebody who viewed this as a good jumping on point, it was and it wasn't at the same time. I'm going to keep picking it up. I think there was enough in here to get me interested. I want to know more about the G.I. Joe world. I feel like that's a big blind spot in my life that a lot of people have. So, we're going to continue the ride, see where it goes in 302. What'd you guys think? Geiger, Ground Zero, issue number 1, Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, Brad Anderson. So, long-term viewers of the channel know that I absolutely love the Geiger verse. Loved Geiger, loved Junkyard Joe, like the 80-page giant, and I'm very excited for whatever this new universe is going to, whenever this new universe is going to pop up. Ghost Machine, I believe it's called. And of course, we have the unnamed timeline at the back of these books too, to give us an idea of when this is happening. So this book here, based on my memory, it's been a while since I read the original Geiger, but this one here does give us a little bit more context on the scientific / military-ish team that's hunting down Geiger right now, the radioactive man. And we get a little bit more context about that team that was sent out to get him. and a little bit more about Geiger himself and his family and his wife and kids and things like that. Some of the things we learned in the Geiger story do bleed over into this one though. And so we get maybe like a retelling or maybe just more context on the things that we learned. There's some correlation or things are happening at the same time in a way between this book and some of the other books. And we're left with a pretty cool cliffhanger at the end, which I'm really excited for. So if you're into Geiger, if you like the first issue, there's some Junkyard Joe stuff in here as well. If you're invested in this universe, it's a must buy. If you didn't really like Geiger that much or wanted more context on his background or the character, this might help you, so check it out. Jeff Lemire's Fishflies, issue number 3. Such a good book. This book is absolutely amazing. I didn't know where it was going to go, really, after the second issue. I liked the book. I liked the coloring. I liked the pacing and everything, but the story, it's very melodramatic and it fits with this art style in particular. But after reading this issue, man, it's one of the most enjoyable books out this week for sure. And just in general, because there's just so many there's so many moods and there's an atmosphere that Jeff Lemire is able to put down on here in the storytelling and in the art. And he just nailed it, man. He had such a good delivery with like all the different characters in here too. We're following this kid who's got like an abusive dad. He's hiding this monster right now that has morphed into a fish fly. And we're trying to like figure all that out right now. We have a kid in the hospital whose mom has a certain view on life and just kind of like wants their kid back and kind of like dropped all the bullshit. And she just wants her kid back now. And we have this cop right here who feels like this like burden of responsibility to this mother now to find the person who hurt their son. And there's just so many cool storylines happening at once. And it's the perfect vibe and artwork combined. I'm loving everything about this book right now. Issue number 3 kind of like solidified my love for the series. Jeff Lemire's Fishflies, you got to be checking this one out. Something Epic issue number 7 from Kodransky. Another great issue. Conclusion with a cliffhanger at the end that we might be getting more. And it's also on the back. It's coming back March 2024. So we'll be looking forward to that. Where the heck does a story like this go? I have no idea, man. But this issue was cool. There's a lot of assumptions out there about what this overall story really means. And I think really at the end of the day in this story here, it's about a man kind of accepting all versions of himself to be whole, to be complete, to be productive and creative in the world that he's in right now. So he has to accept the dark sides, the evil sides, all this stuff to be a whole person. And he has to learn how to control all these different aspects to be, productive to the world. And so it's really cool to see him embrace all those different elements, all those different sides, and to see all the things that come out of that cooperation, right? And so it's been a really, really cool book, really great introspective book as well. And I'm really excited to see where it goes from here. Do I even have to say anything about the artwork? The artwork is incredible. The artwork is absolutely incredible. So many cool mixtures of styles throughout this entire book. It's very dark, it's very brooding, but the entire series is not like that. There's splashes of color that surprise you in here. And like, there's just really interesting moments with all that and the character designs and everything. So beautiful book. Can't wait for March of next year to see more from the series. Great job, man. Keep it up. The Cowboy with Many Hats, issue number 1 from Critical Entertainment. This was an interesting book. It basically follows a sheriff that was doing his sheriff duties, taking out some of the bad guys around, but there's a lot of people after him right now trying to seek their revenge. So he's kind of on the run right now, taking on different jobs, trying to stay off of their radar, but he jumps back on their radar in a mean way. And so now he's having to do what he can do to get out of there and probably start planning his attack back towards these vigilantes that he's escaping from right now. Pretty interesting book, decent artwork in here too. I will say it reads very, very quickly. It's a little bit shorter than your average comic, and the pacing is pretty quick in here too. I wonder what a collected edition would look like for this story. We'll see where it goes from here. Check out Critical Entertainment, brand new publisher to the previews catalog, so check and see what they got coming out. The Prism, issue number 2 from Ablaze Comics. Not a bad issue number 1. Interesting dilemma. Basically, the planet's going to hell, and they found a way to, use the musical vibrations and collaboration with different instruments and different sounds and technology to push back this pathogen, this bacteria, whatever it is that's taking out the world. And we had some pretty cool, like elaborate kind of like show-offy ways to have these different events, to have these concerts, to do this. That was very interesting. In this issue here, we're kind of putting the band together. We're touching base with all these different musicians, and we're seeing where they are right now, the different kinds of instruments they play, and maybe a little bit about their lifestyles. And we're kind of putting all this stuff together, getting all the people in place to presumably go on this mission to kind of, save the world in a way. So I will say that I did feel a little bit lost from issue number 1 to issue number 2. I didn't remember like getting the band together was an objective at the end of issue number 1. And I assume that's what they're doing in here, to be honest with you. But very cool artwork. Interesting premise. We'll see where it goes from there. Let me know if you're reading it and what you guys thought. Next, we have Lotus Land issue number 1 from Boom Studios. So this is actually from the writer of Little Bird. So if you're into that story, which I thought was amazing, came out a few years ago, check this one out. It's a pretty cool book as well. Different art team on here, but it's still a very interesting read. So we have this futuristic, landscape. We have this old retired guy who presumably has some power or some clout still with this agency that he's been working with. He's been pulled in by the agents that are still active in this area as like the last resort, right? He needs to come in. He needs to help them with this specific case. Someone's trying to shut down the system. What does that mean? We don't quite know yet, but we're giving some hints and maybe some direction on what that might mean or who that might involve. And of course, our old like grizzled retired dude goes in here and tries to save the day of this one guy trying to shut this system down. Maybe he was under some kind of possession, something like that. And so we're going to explore this a little bit more in the future issues. Artwork was incredible. Stories got me intrigued. There's a lot of mystery still. We're still trying to unpack and learn what all this means, but great introduction to the story so far. Lotus Land number 1, definitely recommend it. So guys, that's everything I read this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know down below in the comments what you read and what your favorite books of the week were. While you're down there, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and check out the channel membership button. I would really appreciate it. But as always, thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the comments.